the SM Media Podcast Network.
Hi folks, and welcome to the latest episode of SM Media's Countdown to Cheltenham 2026. I'm Scott McPike. It is always a delight to be your host as always, and it is time for our bumper Christmas racing preview. We're going to take a look at all the big races over the Christmas period and try and find some winners and look ahead to what is likely going to be, as always, a fascinating period of racing. To join me, as always, it's an absolute pleasure to welcome from the Scottish Daily Mail, Callum McClurkin. Callum, how are we? It's nearly Santa time.
Yeah. Christmas Day's King George Eve, isn't it? And usually and all that jazz. Christmas is kind of this kind of big kind of buzz around racing, and particularly in Ireland and Kempton, Aintree as well. It's new kind of Grade One that's had in recent years, moving the Tolworth there. So to the form. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot kind of going on. It's going to be a very informative week, and it's probably the kind of first true kind of real weekend where you can really kind of hang your hat, and it really gives a platform into the major spring festivals.
Yes, absolutely. But before we get into it, so we'll talk obviously about some performances over the past week or so, and then we'll look ahead to the action. But bit of kind of news coming out over the past couple of weeks has been regards to the possible closure of Kempton. Now, it has been a busy period for the Jockey Club. They have announced some things that I want to get your thoughts on. Cheltenham and Aintree are going to get kind of future investment. Epsom, they are going to try and kind of change the Derby process where they're going to move the Coronation Cup back to the Saturday. They're going to just try and kind of get a bit of a fresh look into the Derby, and also look at, I think they're bringing in Frank Warren to do some sort of kind of Derby fest or something, but we'll get into that. But probably the big headline was the future of Kempton. Now, this has been something, Callum, that has been on in the kind of radar for a few years. They announced in 2017 that there was a possibility that a company called Red Row were going to take up an option to develop on Kempton. That kind of went away, but in the background, it looks as if it was announced this week that the Red Row do have an option to take up a development in Kempton by 2028. You've done a really magnificent piece on the Daily Mail about this. I would urge everybody to read it. It's a very difficult situation because the Jockey Club have come out and said it is out of their hands what happens to the future of Kempton. Now, we're going to talk about Kempton a lot in the next few, 20, 30 minutes. It's not a great situation for what I think is the kind of the biggest course at this time of year, and the most historical course at this time of year.
Absolutely, yeah. It gives this kind of like pretty grim backdrop to what could be a King George for the ages. When the big guns are standing their ground coming Boxing Day. I mean, Kempton's future's always kind of been whispered around the windmill since really 2017 when the initial threat of closure came in. You know, the deal was pretty instant. It was going to happen. It got shelved, and then they've kind of a year later they've kind of done that dirty and given them the decade-long option in behind without making it public for anyone for 7 years. And I think that's a kind of major betrayal about it that's got people's goat in that regard, because the secrecy of it, you know, I mean,
Yeah.
The Jockey Club are essentially a non-profit organisation. You know, they're there for the interests of British racing. They're not a total 100% commercial entity. There's probably been hidden clues about Kempton's fate. It's had zero investment for years.
Yeah.
Cheltenham and Aintree in the past 15, 20 years, they've been transformed into big, massive, vast, profitable sites. Kempton's largely been ignored. Moving that Grade 1 to Aintree, to a Jockey Club course up there, suggests that they're kind of making plans that their Christmas Boxing Day feature would move up to Aintree. Now, you couldn't really draw up a course that's as similar to Leopardstown as possible. So, I mean, you'll get pretty third-rate Irish entries, I'd imagine.
Well, the other thing is as well, the ground would be
Horrible.
especially different. Aye. And
Well,
it's,
remember that Grade 1 where we couldn't see the
yeah,
last day? You couldn't see Portland winning that race till jump the last fence, so that's a big risk in itself. And that's a big plus about. I mean, the big plus about Kempton and its all-weather track is that it's really rated by the professionals
yeah,
within the industry. It attracts classier types. The 2-year-olds who get in all-weather tracks usually are pretty high class. It's been used. The September Stakes has been used as a stepping stone for very good arc horses recently. It's a very fair all-weather track. It's probably the best
I think it
in the
is the best.
UK,
Yeah,
in my opinion.
yeah.
Um, there's no obvious kind of real bias. You can kind of get away. It's not too tight. It's pretty fair. And the Christmas period really is key because it's one of those places that can offer decent ground in the winter. The King George revolves around it, which is one of the most iconic races in British racing, and it's a perfect contrast to what Cheltenham is.
Yeah.
It's a completely different demand. Kempton right-handed flat track speed test, Cheltenham left-handed stamina test, undulating. It's completely different, and it's kind of and to win a King George and the Gold Cup, you really have to be a true great because you need to show it puts various different kind of levels of strength and your speed and stamina at different levels. So yeah, I mean, I think all the professionals concerned all round, but the lack of care and attention it's had, and punters out with the King George meeting don't really go. And with this new land law that's coming in from the Labour government that are desperate to kind of solve the housing crisis by allowing you to build more on greenbelt sites, overrule local authorities that might not like your decision. There's executive power there that can be wielded, and Red will have this option until at least 2028, maybe even to 2030, to exercise it. And the price of housing now, the later you kind of hold on to it, the more valuable it's going to
Well,
be for them.
that's the thing. Yeah, that's the thing.
So,
I
so
spoke.
that's the thing there, and your new chief executive can come in and say it now because it's not really his responsibility because it was all done before he arrived. So it's kind of the faults there with the previous regime, but yeah, Nicky Henderson, Paul Nicholls, pretty much everyone that's in racing that is pretty much against it. But on the flip side, if you don't invest in it, there's no reason for crowds to come apart from the big days, and it's got a train station there, and the trains don't run on Boxing Day, and it's just shambolic. I mean, those all weather fixtures, you're lucky if you get 100 people there.
That's the thing.
And a lot of these, and this is the way this is the future of it. I mean, Lord Allen came out last week, new head of the BHA, and he's basically saying everyone's telling me we need more money. Well, if you're not running, if you're sitting there in a flat race course that's cherry right for £100 million land deals, and you're only getting a few hundred through the gate normally, 7,000 tops out with your big meetings, then you're just going to be. If it's not commercially viable, then it's up for sale. That's how strapped for cash the whole racing industry is, and I think professionals within the racing bubble don't realise that. The crowds aren't there. The infrastructure's not there, and the investment's not there. It might be privately with all these wealthy owners that are bankrolling it, but if you look outside that, it's not a good picture, and this is a kind of sign of it.
I used to work with someone who stayed very close to the track, and what he always said was that it's the where the I've never been to Kempton, where it is it's such a gold mine for property developers
Yeah,
that they will always try and find a way to do it. But that was before COVID. That was before the housing market really took a downturn, and that is before. I mean, the whole kind of purpose of this
Well, it's
Labour
that
government is,
financial crash in 2008 really that kind
yeah,
of kiboshed any sort of deals.
and the Labour government are about building houses, and this is it's London. It's just outside. It's just outside London. It's a
15
great
minutes from
area.
central London.
Yeah, it's a great area for a property developer. The other
And
thing he
it's
always said was it was a very, very difficult place to get new people to go to.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So I do really worry about this. And again, like just looking at it from a kind of racing perspective, let's say you move the King George to Sandown or Aintree, it's a very different test of a horse. Now you can do it like the move, for example. I mean, they moved the Lincoln to Doncaster and they kept it the Lincoln. It's not like the King George is going to go away, but it's not the same race if you move it from Kempton. Like,
No, particularly if you want to attract. I mean, Aintree seems to be odds on, given the way the Jockey Club are changing it about at
yeah,
the moment. If this does materialise down the line now, Aintree will be deep ground, 3 miles, left-handed, reasonably testing stamina. No difference to that to the Savills Chase. There's no difference to that to Haydock and the Betfield Chase
yeah,
or the Cotswold Chase. Really, I mean, that's the kind of unique thing about Kempton. You know that I alluded to. It's completely different to even ask it. Ask it. Swinley Bottom can get quite bottomless and it becomes stamina stamp. There's still undulations there, and
yeah,
it's a quite stiff finish. You know, Kempton, it's kind of sweeping bend, speed, flat. It is different to look at. It's Christmas wise, it's quite good. You know, if you're actually going to put the King George on a track to emulate Kempton, you'd have to put it in Musselburgh for me.
yeah.
But you know,
Huntingdon was mentioned
you
as
won't,
well,
you
but I
won't.
don't think Huntingdon's get the what's the word the ingenuity and the like. Huntingdon's not a track you can do it.
I
Newbury
mean, that
maybe like Newbury could be an option.
Newbury again's another big 3 mile galloping
Yeah.
track. You know, I
The
mean,
other thing,
this is the thing. I mean, you've been kind of seeing same races over and over again.
yeah,
Like, you know, it's over left-handed ovals. You know, and at Aintree, you know, I mean, it will really hurt like the likes of Henderson's Yard, you know, things like that. And do you really want to go up 5, 6 hours to like grade one? I mean, you can see like the skeleton entries, you know, they're kind of, well, my daddy pie is going to Aintree. We don't really have anything for Kent, and we will channel our resources up at Aintree, you know. It's on Boxing Day for those southern yards, you know, it's quite a logistical effort to just move up there on Boxing Day to Merseyside. But, you know, Aintree, the Jockey Club probably think that Aintree's a far bigger commercial asset. It's criminally underused out with national time, really. You know, I mean, it doesn't get a lot of
no, it doesn't.
major meetings, and perhaps he should be a bit more proactive about that. And that's where it's leaning, really. And the new kind of team there, you know, it's the first phase really of the commercially driven era of the Jockey Club in the BHA. You know, and the new chief executive is he's got a history of streamlining operations now for the big people at top. It is channeling commercial resources and putting it at the top. So that it's reviving the Derby and Epsom. In this instance, it's promoting Cheltenham more. It's Aintree. It's trickle down economics in a sense. You know,
Yeah.
for people at the bottom, it spells trouble.
Well, they have mentioned as well in terms of the all-weather perspective. Kempton probably is the best all-weather track, but they have mentioned for a while if they were ever
Newmarket.
to close Kempton, they would build a third track at Newmarket. Now, that to me seems a bit ridiculous. That to me seems like there's been that plan for a while. I don't think you need three tracks, all that kind of do the same thing. All weather obviously different,
And
but
hardly anybody can get to Newmarket,
it's a really
except the
difficult
racing
place.
industry within
Yeah,
Newmarket.
yeah.
So why you need three? And also, the fixture list needs cut. So if you're losing a race course, the only benefit is that these fixtures, a lot of them
Go
shouldn't really be
elsewhere.
moved anywhere. They
Yeah,
should be shelved.
yeah. But
You know,
it's
and that's the other thing. You know, and it'll be interesting to see. I mean, it's kind of been put out there, so I mean, you can't change it in the fixture list wise. So I don't think anything will happen in 2027, 2028.
nah.
But I mean, they could, out of goodwill, these guys, they could come back and say, like, it's so big that you could partially develop it, housing, and keep a racing element of it. That's also a possibility. But yeah, it just plunges the future of it into uncertainty a little bit. And a lot of people that have probably acted in the racing industry in good faith over this tax debate would probably have assumed that Kempton would be playing a part in it.
I
And
thought it was very
again,
coincidental that
that's an
The
element
Kempton news came out after that.
of an element of kind of betrayal there. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of frustrated people in racing that aren't deeply invested in racing, probably not their full time employment, but thinking, follow the sport, try my best to promote it. Socially, a lot of people don't like it anymore.
Yeah.
Don't like any aspect of it, and you're kind of wondering, why are you still developing involved in you've got to be honest to people to a degree, and that something like that really should have been disclosed at the time.
Yeah, well, for the time being, though, we're going to have Kempton, and hopefully we have a good week at Kempton that gives us more kind of motivation to keep it going. Right, we'll go through kind of some racing that we've had over the past week or so. We'll start with a big race, which was the long walk hurdle, which was won by Impose Trois. Now into 8-1 for the stairs hurdle, and I thought this was a really, really good ride from Nico de Boinville. I thought it was a good race. I do think as well, you obviously backed Honesty Policy, who I think will come on for the run. I think Impost Trois certainly showed that he's the best of the British, and he's the progressor we wanted in this division from a British perspective.
Absolutely, yeah. He's coming through the handicap ranks nicely into Grade 2 and now into Grade 1 territory. That was probably an upgrade in his Newbury effort because he's £6 wrong with a strong leader who actually ran his race this time, didn't last year. And Honesty Policy kind of blew up for the second last and ran on really well and only get beat a length and a half as well. I suspect Gone Elliott Yard will be pretty happy with his run.
Yeah.
A lot of them are improving massively from first run to second. But the winner, he won like he kind of did at Newbury, really. He travels really sweetly for a 3-mile stair. And he sees it out quite well, and he doesn't do a lot in front, so there's probably more in the tank than people think. If they met again, I think Honesty Policy would probably turn it around. That's why they're both kind of 7-8-1, and you think that even Gordon Elliott, never mind the rest of the Irish, have better than him. So the market's probably right, but if you were on 20-25-1 from the Stairs Hurdle, we'd be pretty happy each way.
Yeah, and it does have a bit to find with the Irish form, but we know, particularly in this race, anything can happen. Like, there's always a room for an English improver to come from kind of handicap company. Like, for example, if he was, I don't know what he's going to get for that, but right now I would say he's 153. He could still go for temps if they really want to. I think probably the kind of juice is gone in that, but he's still about 14s for that. But there's definitely a world where Ballyburn and Tia Hooper take each other on, and it could see something like Impost Trois coming from behind. Might not be good enough, but could certainly play for third. And that's the kind of way I looked at this from the start.
I mean, he won't be inconvenienced by the way a race is run there because he proved his stamina there yesterday. I thought he stayed on quite well in baddish ground. They went a reasonable enough clip, I thought. And he's second in a Coral Cup, so I mean 2.5. If they do go slow, won't inconvenience him at all. So it's just the Irish seem to have an edge when it comes festival time, and I suspect that'll remain. I mean, Teahupoo, Ballyburn, they are quite tactically versatile, and you'll see what they do in Christmas. When they clash, the Yellow Clay can't be forgotten about. Mm-hmm. There's been strong money for him over the Christmas period. He's kind of been the only each way horse that's been consistently backed. So they expect him to leave his debut run behind for the Elliott Yard, and probably unwise to forget about Bob Olmsted as well in that division because he goes well fresh, and he's 4 from 4 at the festival. So yeah, I mean, but in Post Trois, he's a progressive one that's coming from the handicap ranks, and that's all you really need to do to be top of the British at the moment. Bit of work to do with the Irish, but there's still more to come from him. So it's not impossible that he could get there, and it's not an insurmountable standard as well. It's not as if he's taking on bona fide mid 160, 170 horses. It's a division that's got a bit of depth to it, but it's not overly strong.
No, and again, I'll take the kind of short and price, and again, with anti-posters, we'll kind of get into at the end of the show. Like, we are kind of playing for kind of place money at the moment, so I'm quite happy where I'm at with that. So hopefully it continues to to improve. Right, couple of kind of performances I wanted to get your thoughts on. We'll go to Friday, where the Grade 2 Noel Novices Chase was won by Steel Alley. I thought this was really good, and it looks to be, we've kind of spoke about the novice chasers, particularly kind of higher up in Britain towards kind of further trips. They maybe aren't at the level of the Irish, and I think that's true. But I think Steel Alley certainly setting a good standard at the moment. I thought this was an excellent performance.
Did well. The race kind of fell apart a little bit, maybe in behind. No questions asked. Doesn't find much for pressure. And yeah, he looks like a 2.5 mile to be the Silly Isles. Looks his race. That's for sure. And again, he might be worth flinging in an Arkle. He kind of get found out a little bit last year for what his level is. So I think he's going to get into that over fences. But he did it quite well, and he relaxes, he jumps nicely. And Sam Thomas has got a good couple of these lump sum, for instance, as well. So he's got quite a few decent enough types. I don't think he's a top notcher, but I think he's got a chance in Silly Hills and Festival. I think he might be found out trip wise if you take the chance at Cheltenham. Aintree maybe for him.
Yeah, well, speaking of horses that maybe improve in the spring, Regent Stroll beat Jericho Derepere in a two-runner race. Now, both horses have been kind of tipped up for certain things. Start with Regent Stroll. I think we always knew there was a horse there. Is this Caldwell Potter Mark II?
Well, Unibet introduced him at 7-1 or something like that,
yeah,
for that race. So everyone's leaping to the same conclusion. He's a marvellous jumper. What you learn in these two runner beginners chases, I've got no idea. No wonder people are not bothered, because it's just, you get that, and then you get 3-run graduation chases, and he might not win a race and still win a graduation come next year. It's just ridiculous. But he's a dynamite jumper. He needs to learn to settle two-runner race. He's going to outpace Jericho Derepere there over that trip anyway. Jericho Derepere, all his best performances have been bigger fields.
6-1 for a Kim Muir.
Well, no, because he had every single chance in that Pertomps, and he should have won, and he ducked it for me.
I just don't think he likes fences.
I don't think he likes winning.
Yeah,
his technique's a bit clumsy and it's in behind, but and he get worked. He get infamously worked up, didn't he? The day that he kind of thought he was a smart novice. So he might not, but he's a horse that you'd find extremely hard to trust at those prices in a big field handicap. Even though he shows his best, but you wouldn't trust him to win. The Pertomps where I think a lot of people backed him, but every chance to get past his lesser fancied stablemate and just refused to do so up the running. And really should have won that day, hung it away, and I think a big fat line can be put through him on that account alone, because he's just not going to. To me, I don't. He's got his quirks there, and he's showing them over fences already before getting in a competitive race, and you can just see him doing it again. If he's lobbed in, then he might overcome it, but I think the competitive handicap field, I can just see him ducking away and being second or third. As for Regent Soul, the 2.5 mile race looks perfect for him. It just depends where they go next. Paul Nicholls talking Silly Hills afterwards.
Yeah.
So if you go that way and it's first or second, you probably forget about being rated 145 or less for that race.
I think it's a manifesto.
Then they skip it and go Aintree. So, but how is he going to handle a big occasion, big crowd, and a bigger field? I'd be a bit concerned from there. So, two obvious kind of types to track going forward, but not ones that you'd hang your hat on to learn in time.
Yeah, they're too short, and I think they do have their quirks. There's a couple on my kind of Kim Muir radar, particularly one in those colours that isn't Jericho Derepere, so we'll maybe touch on that after Christmas. But yeah, I wouldn't be Jericho Derepere for the Kim Muir. I just don't think he's a natural chaser. I think he's definitely I think there's definitely a pot in him. It's just that, do I think he's going to win a race like
I
that?
mean, the front showed him at like 6-1. I mean, who in
Yeah.
the right mind is backing horses for handicaps 3 months down the line at 6, 7, 8-1?
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
nonsense.
it's crazy. I mean, you've got a Rocco that's 8-1 for the National. That's bonkers. What is he going to be in the day?
Yeah,
We've had 7-1 in the field for the last 2 Grand Nationals, and we've got him sitting there at 8-1.
yeah,
It's crazy.
yeah. It's nonsense. But right, speaking, we'll start with the Henderson yard. Do they potentially have a star of the future in the form of Old Park Star?
Oh yes, this is the performance of the season, novice hurdling wise. One that you get the laptop out and you go, what are people doing with this horse for future quotes? This was magnificent. You know, I mean, I thought Active Innocence was good. This was Active Innocence times
Were
2.
both with Nichols before? Were both
Yeah,
with Paul Nichols?
yeah, both of them. It was both the same ownership when they switched.
Yeah.
And what worryingly, I think this guy's better than No Drama this end. I thought this was spectacular.
Yeah, I think that was good.
And Dickie Henderson was talking away and thinking he's more of a 2.5 miler than a 2 miler, and some companies were snoozing on him.
Yes, they were. Yeah,
and snaffled up 33s for him for the turners
I think
very
that'd be
quickly.
25s, but it was just a light stake just because I kind of thought it was a nonsense. But
I mean, that's the thing, you know, you've got this kind of 2-minute window where you take the price or not, and that had to be taken. I mean, he just jumped so impressively, it was effortless, and it was a good field. He beat the right horses in second and third, really. Second stayed on fine. The Tizard horse was highly regarded. He was swept aside round the bend. It's a race that usually has a bit of substance to it, and he mooted this 2.5 miler in trials day back at Cheltenham for him. And you know, if he turns up there, it'll definitely be Turner's the way he's thinking, because he's not in the form base. So I mean, Active Innocence might go there, but he likes that kind of introductory race.
I don't think Charlo wasn't mentioned, was it?
Well, no, Charlo too quick. He don't run in a Grade 1 after that too quickly. But I mean, on Charlo Day, there's this soft introductory race where he'd carry a small penalty, and he's used that before. And I think that's what he's going to do for Active Innocence. So I think this one will go to the Grade 2 in Trials Day at Cheltenham over the 2.5. But the owner will want to split them, surely.
I would have thought so, yeah.
They're both eminently good enough. I mean, Active Innocence is definitely on the supreme radar. And this fella's top of the Turners list. I mean, I wouldn't take anything less than 20s now. He's 14s across the board, 14s 12-1, and I think that's now about right. But yeah, it was a rare instance where there was an opportunity there for me, because, like a lot of people, visually I thought it was awesome.
Yeah, I thought it was really good.
Your gut instinct thinks, "Wow, you know, like that's a star." Mm-hmm. And to me, that's what it was. And you just need to be instant and on the ball with those things. And given the way the trainer was talking about, thought he might be an extra half mile and things like that. And in the unusual manner where he actually played them down a little bit. I like that when Nick Henderson does that. So I think he secretly kind of admires that they are good when he's like that. So yeah, it was really encouraging. It's just effortless. He never missed a beat. You can call him the winner in a good race. Didn't go favourite, remember? Mm-hmm. You know, by halfway. I did back him in the day. I was expecting him to win. I didn't expect him to win by 12 on the bridle. You know, it was on building from kind of pretty ornery maiden that he won. So, but yeah, when Henderson throws him in like that into that race, he'll take a good one to beat him. But he just spread eagled a decent enough field, and yeah, Britain have got a few kind of good, decent top novice. Him, Active Innocence, My Daddy Parry, obviously as well. So yeah, there's a good few that set an early marker when the Irish ones have been kind of slow to come out. You know, Mullins hasn't shown his hand yet, obviously, so that's another reason to be kind of wary about the prices a little bit.
He did have another nice one as well, Crystal Island, that ran on Friday. Mm-hmm. Now, he looks to be more of a stayer, but what impressed me about this was he looked particularly green, and I think he will be one that just gets better with more experience.
Yeah, in the Django Beige Inco blue colours, and they seem to get good types, and absolutely, yeah, there was kind of mooted about Albert Bartlett for him. You can see why, but yeah, Nicky Henderson's he is still the man for novice hurlers,
Yeah.
and novice chasers. He's the guy that can have them competitive at the festival against Irish in springtime. So it's really exciting. And when you're crawling over the kind of early Kempton entries, you're kind of looking at his name now to identify a top notcher. And probably looking at Skeletons and Nichols are more kind of the handicap blocks. But yeah, he's been quite quiet about his novices in the build up this season, maybe because of the talk about Sergino, Constitution Hill, and the likes of that have kind of dwarfed it a little bit. But he's got a good team, definitely novice hurlers in there.
Yep, definitely. There's a couple other horses I wanted to touch on as well. I think we saw a couple of nice bumper performances. Maybe not something we've spoke about a lot so far this season, but a couple certainly caught the eye. Over in Ireland, a nice horse won. Oh My Word, now about 16-1, and we saw a nice performance in Britain for the Gordons of Base Hunter. What did you make of these two?
Yeah, I don't think either of them will be festival factors personally. I don't think we've seen anything of significance in the bumper division yet. They both did it well. Base Hunter, you can see him kind of dominating flat tracks. I mean, right-handed, like sharp tracks. He was really fresh, keen, and held on at the line. I don't think he'd get away with that up the hill at Cheltenham. So he needs to learn to settle. Oh My Word also needs to learn to settle in a race that completely fell apart. But he did it visually very nicely. But I've got my suspicions. I don't think we've seen any decent bumper horses come out yet.
Okay, we might see a couple over the Christmas period. Anything else you like that we haven't covered before we take a look at the Christmas action?
Not particularly. I mean, I thought the last 2 weeks at Cheltenham and Ascot, I thought the Friday was strangely far more informative than the Saturday cards, which was a bit curious. Yeah, not really a lot to glean. I think most people are just keeping the kind of powder dry really till Christmas.
Right, let's get into the Christmas period. We will start in Boxing Day. We'll start with the Formby novices hurdle at Aintree before we take a look at the three big Grade 1s at Kempton. We're going to go Formby novices hurdle. Entries came out on Saturday, so we've got an idea what's going to go. But very, very interesting race. My Daddy Paddy, the supreme favourite, is 11-10 here. Active Innocence is 3-1. There is an entry. By the sounds of it, doesn't look as if he's going to go. Skylight Hustle for Gordon Elliott 5-1. You've got 8-1 Idaho Sun, the likes of Starmount Diamond Hunter. I think that's a very, very interesting race. Again, very tough to see past My Daddy Paddy in terms of what his reputation is. Before I've got a kind of couple of horses I want to run by you in this, but what do you kind of think so far?
I can't disagree with the market. I mean, it's all about potential, and this is going to be My Daddy Paddy's toughest assignment yet. He's ahead in the ratings, not by far. He's at top of the Supreme market, and he's going to be top of this. And he's short because the second favourite might go elsewhere, probably will. Skylight Hustle was very good the last day. Big danger. Cornell, it looked like winning this 2 years ago, and Far and Glory came down when Django Bay won it. So you'd have to think that this horse is reasonably high up the pecking order there. Idaho Sun's been very good last twice. Okay, probably similar kind of Mickey Mouse events, but he's entitled to go to grade company and he was sixth in the champion bumper. So Starmount Diamond Hunter have won decent races as well. So yeah, it's tricky to ascertain what's going to go. The ground looks pretty soft, which might test My Daddy Paddy's kind of. I think he's probably got the superior speed. Might test his turn of foot. I do rate Idaho Sun. I think it's a big danger. I think he's a little bit underestimated at eights. And if you think the second favourite's going to go, then he's a bit of an each we bet to nothing at this stage.
I really like Skylight Hustle. I would prefer him to go to Leopardstown because I think that's probably an easier race, as we'll maybe get into. I really liked Idaho Sun all season. I think he's had two soft races, so maybe similar to My Daddy Paddy, we don't necessarily know where he's at. But I think there's a lot more to come, and if you're to, there's a possibility my daddy Paddy could just blow this apart. Like realistically, that's. Am I taking 11-10 though that he's going to do that? I think I'll probably leave him alone. I think I'm going to play Idaho Sun, but I've also thought if I'll back Skylight Hustle wherever he goes. So I'm kind of between Skylight Hustle and Idaho Sun. I think that's a very, very interesting race, and I certainly think we'll have an idea where my daddy Paddy's at. If he wins it, what price does he go to Cheltenham? Because you can't cut him ridiculously unless he
Well,
wins
they
this by
will.
12 lengths. Yeah, they will, but realistically, he's 5-1 just now. If he wins this by 12 lengths, are you going to make him like 2-1 when we've not seen a Willie Mullins? No,
Well, that's 2 words, isn't it? Willie Mullins.
yeah,
Don't know what he's got, and I mean, he might not have much at the moment. Yeah, I mean, he's there. Are you going to row in? You can see him. You can see him maybe going off odds on. I think with just so much kind of unknowns and a real lack of graded form here, you can see why people are kind of maybe going to leave it till the day, or leave it behind entirely and just sit and watch it and enjoy it really as a very informative race.
yeah, but we'll no doubt see supreme caliber after this race. Let's go to Kempton for the three races. We'll then take a look at the Grade 1 at Leopardstown before we move into the 27th. We'll start with the Cottle Star, Novices Chase, and you mentioned the name Willie Mullins. This looked a very dire race up until he threw in Jimmy DeSault and Kitzbühel. I don't imagine both will go. One might not even go, but Jimmy DeSoy, Kitzbühel are kind of 2-1, 11-4. Salver and Wendigo are 3-1 and 10-3. Yeah, Blue Kangaroo probably shouldn't be good enough. Crest of Fortune. I think Willie's going to send one.
Looks like at the top of the market, probably Kitzbühel. I would kind of think. I mean, if they're confident Jimmy DeSoy would be here, I don't think he'd be 2-1 favourite. I think
No,
he'd be
I think I don't give a
pushing evens. I wouldn't take liberties on him. So the fact that he's kind of out there at twos, I think it's a bit brave, because I think he would lap this lot, to be honest.
yeah.
But I would have to think that Limerick would probably be, even though the final demand's there.
Final demand was entered, then taken out.
Yeah, I'd have to think that. Limerick's probably a bit more likely. Well, I mean, two owners that aren't remiss of coming over here, really. So you can wait and see. But again, it skews the market. You can't really have a punt in it. Salver did it well at Sandown last day, over 3 miles. The Moors are in better form, and he was the best of these over hurdles, really. Wendigo, I have my doubts if he's really that good. I wouldn't be that dismissive of Blue Kangaroo. I mean, it's a meeting where Nichols's horses can come to life. He scrambled over the line at Wincanton. He made kind of hard work for it, but
Beat Salver over hurdles. Beat Kitzbühel
yeah,
over
he beats
hurdles.
all horses. He might not kind of be a natural one over fences. He did
Yeah.
look a bit small, and he did kind of hit them a little bit, and he was a bit careful, and he might not have enough scope really to kind of be better than he currently is, which is rated 147. So
Yeah.
he's an attractive. He's going to take his chance. So, and if you assume that one of the Mullins horses, maybe even two, don't turn up, he has that rating that's similar to Wendigo and Salver. You could make a case that he really shouldn't be kind of 12-1 while they're 3-1.
I think it's a dire
Really?
race if none of the Mullins horses turn up. Like, I think it's a very middling Grade 1.
Yeah, I remember that the jukebox man went off odds on last
Yeah.
year for it, didn't he? And won it pretty comfortably. It would be a middling race, but
Maybe a
it'd be
competitive one.
reasonably competitive
Yeah.
with 3-4-7 ones there. And if the Mullins ones, Kitzbühel's still got to learn how to settle to really fully get 3 miles. Even at Punchestown where he kind of he won by a length or a bit. At odds on, it wasn't overly convincing. In a race it was a maiden at a race that, funnily enough, that Gaelic Warrior and Ballyburn had won. So he is highly regarded. and his best work was at the finish, which for a lot of Mullins horses, when you think and you're assuming they're coming on for the first run, it's probably a better effort than you think. So, and I think he's probably the more likely one to turn up, really, isn't he, than Jimmy DeSoy. So, I mean, you could see him being 64 or something like that. You know?
I think it's a very. If Jimmy DeSoy goes and he's anywhere near 2-1, I think he'll smash up. And Kitzbühel, I think is the most potential, but I think there is quirks in him. As I say, I was quite disappointed with him over hurdles. I think, like particularly Aintree, I thought he was very, very keen on the day and just never got there. So talent-wise, he probably should be good enough, but again, it's probably one of those wait to the day.
Like even at Sandown, he was favourite in behind Blood
Yeah,
Kangaroo and Salver and get beat by 3/4 of a length there.
yeah,
He just showed his kind of inexperience a little bit. So they try and drum that out. So maybe like through that line, they kind of wanted to send him here. I don't know. I mean, it's Willie Mullins bingo, and the best thing to do is not play until you know.
yeah. And that's probably what I'll do here. Like, let's go into the Christmas hurdle where all reports suggest we will see the return of Sergino. He's 4-5 here to win the Christmas hurdle. Is well, not stable, mate, but Anzadam is entered here. Same colours, different trainer, obviously. Golden Ace is 5-1. You've got likes of Celtic Dino in the mean line. I don't think there's going to be a lot of entries in, runners in here. Is Sergino at 4-5 just a watching brief here? Because we don't know what Sergino's going to turn up, but you'd imagine if he's going here, they're not sending him here if he's not going to win. I don't know. It's a very, very hard race for me to work out because any sort of sense would suggest Sergino's a knocking bet at 4-5, but is he Sergino? Do we know if he's Sergino yet?
Yeah, the market will probably tell you closer to the time,
Yeah,
and
he
then
does.
then you can plough in or ignore. I mean, there is a planet that he could conceivably go off 1 to 2 or shorter, really, if
Yeah.
there's that confidence in him, if he's that fit. The Yard are going along really well. Nicky Henderson certainly having primed, taking his chance, and yeah, all the vibes. He's been away for a year, but have all been pretty encouraging. And what he did in the fighting fifth, if he does that, he'll win this. Even what he did at Kempton, he would definitely win it. His evidence, the evidence is there. It's just the unknown of not seeing for ages, and how serious it was, and if anything's good enough to hit the bridle, and what is the response going to be? If you're kind of trusting him, you're kind of just trusting him to kind of be his old self, really. And it's a hard thing to do if the price gets getting shorter and shorter and shorter, where I become more, while it's a kind of good sign in the market. You become more and more kind of wary, I think, and probably willing to kind of let it go. Will Amsterdam turn up here or take on Lossiemouth? It's anyone's guess,
I
I would
think he'll
think.
go. I think he'll go here just because of how deep that race looks at the moment.
Yeah, because because it's a King George team, Willie Mullins has
Paul Townend's going to be
tendency
over
to
anyway,
here.
so
I think they've been inclined. I think they've been inclined to do that, and I think they'd be interested to see if he can turn the form around with Golden Ace in a sharper track with a run under his belt. And you'd think they probably might be.
Golden
Um,
Ace wins this. He's won the three big races of 2025.
yeah, well,
Like
she has. Yeah,
she,
and
sorry,
and nothing can
and
take that away from her.
she
So, and
could,
she's,
she
she's
could
not
win this.
she's not being disrespected in the market.
No,
Celtic Dino's an interesting one
yeah,
because this Welsh champion hurdle form is working out incredibly well. He had
yeah.
Willful win last week, he was third. Which run a strong handicap. Alexi is still ran quite well. Travelled into like the best horse at the weights and just get beat. But he won the Greatwood, and the effort to run Wood Who Close, where I think he just get outstayed, and that's why he's back to 2 miles, is a pretty good one, I would think. So if he's a sneaky each way price, he's interesting. Just whether this track is really going to be his bag, because at Kempton, where he was well beaten behind Tripoli Flyer, Miami Magic as a novice, and in the Dove kit, and if it was at an Aintree or something, I think it'd be much more interesting. This should be too sharp for the Mean Lion as well. And Rubo again is in a kind of another kind of Nichols horse that's been a little bit dismissed in his old day at the prices. Yeah, he probably can't win, like Blue King Daru and others before him, but I wouldn't want to be laying too much of 20-1 about him. Even if he's going to hit the frame, because a lot of these aren't going to really go. He's had a freshener since Wincanton, and we know he likes Kempton. He beat Burdett Road, who's setting the champion hurdle around here this year. So, and on his reappearance, so he's potentially dangerous because he's very well suited to the track. So, and he's been second in this race before to likes of Constitution Hill, so he could fill that spot again. He might be a kind of outside with HB Celtic Dino as well, but yeah, it's another one that's tricky at the top of the market to kind of assess at the moment, because you need to kind of wait and see and play it by ear how well it's going. But at the moment, you'd be pretty encouraged with what you're hearing with Sir Gino.
Yeah, and he has. There was a video of him going about schooling over hurdles, so he's definitely working. Right, let's get into the big one, the King George at 2:30. This is what we want. We want this type of race, and all reports we're going to get it. Willie Mullins looks to be sending over Fact File and Gaelic Warrior, and they're sharing favouritism in the market. You've got Django Bay for Nicky Henderson about 7-2. The Jukebox Man at 13-2, likes a Jello. Last year's winner, Banbridge, at 14s, along with Ali Francais, Croke Park and Master Chew in there as well. Before we get into our opinions, how good is this race if it goes the way we think it will?
Yeah, it's a cracker, isn't it? Yeah, it's a reminder of how good Kempton can be at Christmas time. And because it attracts these kind of specialists 2.5 miles, if they go at 3 miles, find out if they're a Gold Cup horse, and they can utilise their speed. You wouldn't get that anywhere else.
No.
Apart from Musselburgh. Go there. But have it up there.
King George to Musselburgh would do us.
Well, it would do us. I mean, track-wise, it'd be perfect. But yeah, no, we often get ignored, so we're used to that. If anyone watched that Sports Personality of the Year segment about Scotland, then
I've kept away from.
I think we know why we've all had enough. But Fact to File, Gaelic Warrior, hard to split in Puncheston form, and again, very hard to split here. The thing is that in Gaelic Warrior, he can be ridden cold. It's not as if he needs to go out and bomb up and take it apart, and be involved in a pace war with like Sally Francais and free goers like that. So, and he has excess stamina that's maybe a bit more proven than Factifiles at the moment.
Yeah.
But Factifile had to do a lot of the donkey work to try and track him get in, and he was a bit weaker in the day than Gaelic Warrior. And I think a lot of observers, myself included, think that he would probably turn it around the next day. I think he's got a good opportunity to do so here. I think there'll be more horses that would take him into the race. I think he'd be more suited to better ground. And I think maybe race to race over this trip, I think he might be a bit more progressive, a bit more reliable than Gaelic Warrior, who can sometimes still get himself into a bit of a tiz. And at Kempton, that could happen here. He sometimes runs 2 races alike in the same season. We did it at Aintree and Sandown where he did it quite well. He's a classy horse that can sometimes be underestimated, but if he goes missing, it's around this time of the year, Christmas into DRF kind of thing, where he maybe takes a bit of a lull and a dip, and maybe coming over here will totally mitigate it because it's a Leopardstown thing.
What did you think they ran to in the John Durkin? What rating would you have given them?
I think they comfortably hit low 170s.
Low 170s.
Not high. I wouldn't give anything a high 170s. I think a lot of these horses are overrated. We talked about the Steers Hurdle market. I don't think any British horses ran at 150 in that field yet. I mean, I downgrade them personally because it helps my punting. Because I'd rather like to know their kind of floor than their ceiling a little bit. I'm just a bit wary of inflating marks for a lot of these, but Django Bay is third in, and this looks tailor made for him, but
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
he's a bit to find against two bona fide top notchers that are coming his way now, and it's whether he can get there. And he's untested at 3 miles. He looks like he'll get it no problem on the evidence of his Ascot run, but it's a big step up beating these two from stretching away from Gidley Park and Picdory and Master Chewy, and his Arkle in novice form is working out better than expected though, and he's definitely high class. And on official ratings, he's not far away. He's certainly closer to them than the Jukebox Man, who, like, for all it would be brilliant that Connections won it. I mean, he's got a lot
He would
of
need to
work
improve. Yeah, need to improve
to get there. I
massively.
mean, he needs a stone on all showings, but he's proven course and distance.
Very bullish trainer.
In
The trainer is very confident.
very confident in his ability, and no wonder, because Iroko kind of franked the form of his last eight
Yeah.
here, where he took it out quite nicely when they were kind of at pains not to kind of give him a hard time for a prep, so they're confident they'd improve from that. He almost won the Albert Bartlett. He's a hardy horse because he filled the same spot at Aintree as well. He had a slight issue, but he's capable of getting to that level, but he's not really he's not, to me, he's nowhere near the price he should be to get there. I mean, Jello, for instance, achieved a lot more, and he's 12 for some reason. He's rated £7 higher. That's the price he should be. I mean, for all he's likable and it's a lovely story and things like that, there's no way he should be 13 to 2,
No.
71. So I think he's the one that's priced up fundamentally wrong to me. He could win it, but he should be double figures. Jello's improved quite nicely. Showed suitability for 3 miles, winning the Charlie Hall. It's okay form. Huntington blitzed it as he did last year. The limitations were exposed though in Grade One company at Cheltenham and at Aintree, and you'd think that might happen again to him here, and he probably won't get it all his own way from the top. And it's a testament to how deep this race is when you're last year's 1-2 Banbridge and Ellie Frontier 14s and 20s. I mean, you could see Ellie Frontier bounce back to a degree here. He's never been a betting proposition for me in his life because he's gone off ridiculously short and he's one-dimensional. But
Can
here,
anything challenge him for the lead?
Well, it depends what you do with Gaelic Warrior, isn't it? Jello likes to go forward. I mean, there is a lot, but there was enough pace in the race and enough contenders last year, and people didn't bother. And you can see him kind of just blazing away in the first half mile again. I don't think Paul Townend will be interested in having a go at him. Really, I don't think so. Because he did show at Aintree, didn't he, Gaelic Warrior, that he can be kind of held up and relaxed. So I can't see him kind of being the hare in this instance. Banbridge seems to. I mean, he popped up last year to win this. He's looked a little bit regressive since then, and I think even a replication of last year's effort is probably not going to be enough to win this. And the other two are rogue outsiders. So to me, it's fact to file, but you could easily make a case for Gaelic Warrior confirming the form. Django Bay, the Jukebox Man could win, but I think he's far too short in the market, and I think Gell's a bit exposed. And I wouldn't be as negative as I normally would be in people backing Ellie Frontier.
Okay.
Because this is his race. This is the only race he can back him, and he's been considerably shorter for lesser assignments. And that's like the Ryanair. I mean, the Ryanair was never ever going to suit the horse.
Yeah.
And he bombed out at Ascot, which is disappointing, disconcerting. But he's done that before and came back. And Tom George had a second in this with Double Shuffle when the last time Nicky Henderson won it with Mike Bite. So the trainer's capable, and he might have just needed a run to adapt his surroundings a little bit. So, and that he can be a bit monstrous around here. So having a flyer at him each way at 20-1 wouldn't be the bad idea, particularly if he gets a little bit too much rope. And I think he could have won the King George last year if he maybe gave him a little bit of a breather earlier on because he was far enough ahead for him to do that. But he just might not be able to really restrain it and actually get a breather. And that he's that much of a freewheeler. So to me, it's fact to file.
Okay.
If all things are equal. But yeah, I wouldn't be putting off anybody at the top of the market. It's really competitive. It's going to hopefully be a very, very good race.
Yeah, I've looked at this race a lot over the past few days, and I've came to the following conclusion. I think JLo and the Jukebox Man have a bit to find. I don't think they are going to be good enough on the day to go with the top three. Django Bay, is he going to be able to? If the three of them go to the last, he would be the one of the three I would least expect to win, just based on stamina at the moment. I'm not worried about Fact to File stamina. I've seen a lot of people saying, "Oh, he's not going to stay 3 miles." He won a Brown Advisory.
Meant to be a future Gold Cup horse.
Yeah, I don't
He's
have
fine.
that.
He could actually win this. Look powerful at the finish, and all of a sudden be a Gold Cup.
Yeah, the
Django Bay's
worry.
it's the same ilk.
I think Django Bay is a very, very good horse, and I think he definitely will get this in time, and maybe just a year too soon. The worry I've got with Fact to File and Gaelic Warrior is there's a strong possibility they could both bounce. They ran to such a high level in the John Durkin.
Yeah, that really opens the door to Django Bay. Yeah,
That could
absolutely.
open the door to Django Bay. Of the two, though, the one I would be more confident not bouncing is Fact to File. Gaelic
Yeah,
Warrior,
I'd
this
agree
time
with
of the
that.
year. I know he won the Faugheen at Limerick, but
He had a harder race from the front as well, didn't
aye,
he? And he was the one that the market was kind of pointing towards. It suggested that Factify would need it a bit more.
and I think Fact to File would be the one to improve. I think the fact that Fact to File for a long time wasn't coming here, now they are, suggests I think there's a lot of confidence, particularly with the owner and connections, because the owner's never won this race. They think they've got a horse to win this race, and I think it's.
And the movement on Factify came at the same day as the Kempton news broke. The exact same day.
Yeah, I I think it's a very, very good race. Again, I like you. I wouldn't put off anybody. I think the Jukebox Man would probably be the one that I would just say needs to really improve a lot, and I just don't see him improving past these
He can
horses
go
if they're on
forward as
some.
well.
Aye,
Can
aye.
he really dictate? And I mean, would he have the tactical speed to kind of do that? So he need to kind of do something different as well, and maybe kind of take his medicine and kind of sit midfield. Because I mean, it's a race where you kind of need 2.5 mile pace to hold your position for a long time. But if they overdo it and it becomes a bit of a stamina grind, then it could be anyone's. When Hewitt won it, it can fall apart to that degree when you overplay it. So even though it's this speed test, flat track, 3 miles, it's still a race where you need to get home, and it can find horses out.
Yeah, and there was somebody, I think it was actually Ruby Walsh was saying, well, Vitua didn't get home, Alho didn't get home. I think Factify was
It's
more
a
of a
bit
stare.
harsh. See,
I think he's
Vitura didn't get home by a nostril.
yeah, but Factify I think's was more of an out and out 3 miler, was more bred to be a 3 miler than those were.
He's inexperienced enough as well.
Aye,
He's gonna get there in time, isn't he? He's stamina and things like that. And I also think the big thing is I think he'd be appreciative of better ground. It was
yes.
quite tacky and bottomless Punchestown, and that's hard to make ground up on. He was just kind of fended off at the line. I think he is a kind of spring ground horse as well. I think he'd like better ground, and I think that's slight, not really a slight question mark in Gaelic Warwick because it's just his best performances are kind of this monstrous galloping on deep ground, isn't it? That's what you kind of associate with him. But he is more versatile and better than people give him credit for. But I just think there's just a little bit more substance about his stablemate to me.
Yeah, I think I'm just going to give the marginal call to Factify. But again, it could change. But at the moment, if you were to pick the King George runner for me, just based on all the fundamentals, it would be Factify. Final grade one on Boxing Day will be the Racing Post. And obviously, Chase obviously came back after being off last year. And it looks like Romeo Coolio is going to go here 8-13. Bit of a question mark with some of Willie's that are entered. Salvatore Monday 4-1. Kirgis is in here as well. They both are entered in beginners' chases, which says to me they might be going down that route. July Flower in here for Henry de Bromhead. Irish Banter's been very good for the Hearties and looks to be going here at 8-1. I think we know that Kopech, the board, was certainly being aimed at this, and you can tell, I think, by the entries he was. Westport Cove, I don't think would be good enough to beat Romeo Coolio. It should be just a Romeo Coolio win, shouldn't it?
Should be, yeah. You should cope with this down trip at Leopardstown to 2 miles. As long as the yard still remains in good heart, then yeah, you should definitely take this out. Salvador Monday can improve, from it's not a penalty kick, I mean, he could improve from his maybe throws. It's just the horse that beat him, Capper Pike. It's just not there, and I mean, I don't know why. I've not heard anything about it. I mean, he might have had a setback or something like that, but I mean, it's the kind of thing when you see them horses that are trained by Willie Mullins that kind of do things that surprise you and go, oh, he might be graded class. He just kind of disappears off the face of the earth for the higher reputation stablemate.
No entries over Christmas. So
No, well, I keep repeatedly getting bumped. I mean, I've only seen about Copacabana's out for the season,
yes,
so
I did. Yeah.
that was some laugh yesterday. I've got to say, but July Flower probably needs it. Probably needs the rain to come to be a factor over sharp 2 miles here. Be aware I didn't do the form that badly the last day when second to the Lamba, but she just seems she might need more of a stamina test in this as well, and plays it in the favour of Romeo Coolio, who looks a better chaser than the hurdler. And as a hurdler, he was pretty much better than all of these, maybe barring Salvador Monday at times, but I don't think there was a lot in it. Certainly wasn't a lot in it in the entry run where he won by 7, but he just came out of Cheltenham a bit better than Romeo Coolio did. Romeo Coolio sent off 2-1 Salvador Monday, went off 7-2. So they both have a similar lofty reputation, and maybe the price is a little bit disparaging, but I suppose Salvador Monday's got beginners chase options as well, so it could be even bigger penalty kicks. So the favourite's just going to be priced up defensively, and you'd expect him to stay unbeaten over fences.
Yeah, I think July Flowers an interesting one. Again, I've got massive concerns with a couple of Henry de Bromheads. Yard's not form.
The yard just go missing at
Yeah.
November time, Christmas time, and they just kind of pick them up for spring. I mean, whatever that yard do, I wouldn't be too negative about them, because they just kind of that's how they just tend to train. They come out quite well and fresh, and then they just kind of are kind of put away for the spring, really.
Yeah. But I think Romeo Cooley will win. Right, we'll go to the 27th. We'll go to the Welsh Grand National. Now, this is usually a race that you've got an opinion on. Is that the case this year? I thought that, because I genuinely don't know where to go here, because I'm finding Sam Thomas's two very hard to split. Jubilee Express, who realistically should have won it last year.
Yeah, second. Yeah.
Show Minucci, though, I think has had a really good prep for this. Again, it was given a kind of light race at Haydock and Betfair Chase Day, where I think he was certainly trained with this in mind, and I think he's actually the one that I would prefer of the two. I think O'Connell's very, very much an improver. I saw obviously Parkinson and Smith had a good winner yesterday, and they're a yard that are getting some good winners. I think I'm between them, like Mr. Van Gogh, Horticulture. I'd be surprised if he even goes for this.
So the plan is for them to run, Mr. Van Gogh and Horticulture.
It's a very hard race.
I mean, Rebecca Curtis is the trains down there, has had Welsh national types before.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're keen on it. Won the Irish one, and if he does run off 154, the favourite of 126 is going to be most likely out the weights, and
Yeah.
that's what makes it pretty tricky to have a bet on. Mr. Van Gogh 152, intentions to run, that's a lofty weight, so that's near top weight. So it's going to lopside it a lot for horses that are outside 2 stone of that.
Yeah.
So you're going to get that situation, a bit like in that handicap with Long Press ran, where you're going to get a weird looking race where, including put out the handicap, it's if if one like that holds their ground, and that seems likely, at least one of them will, then the nice one he thinks well handicapped is might well be out the weights, and the plan's a bit ruined. So it's difficult. I mean, if it was 130 or under and people Express 126, I'd be a bit concerned about that. It can be defied, but second in the last year, the obvious chance, probably trained again, off the same mark to strike again. Won the trial handily enough. Probably the right favourite, Mr. Van Gogh. And these horses, even at about 150 odd, they need to run and win and run well in these to get into the Grand National
Yeah.
these days off that mark. So that's why they're kind of taking their chance off these big weights. Mr. Van Gogh's shaped very well in the Beecher.
Yeah.
Know that it stays, and the more attritional and bottomless it is, the more it would definitely suit that horse and get Makers look like a Welsh national horse for a while. Just
Was
as it
that the
really
one?
did.
Did you fancy him last year? They never went. Was it?
Yeah, and that was another one that didn't make it.
Yeah.
This nasty habit of backing horses that just get injured the following day. Haiti Killua, then this is probably more appropriate, probably maybe needs a run in a kind of handicap, really, to kind of get confidence back. He was kind of found out he thought maybe didn't enjoy the track, but extremely progressive before then. It maybe just benefits from a little bit of a break. Ran a bit too close from the hurdles to the Betfair Chase. Was it just a couple of weeks? So might need that. The one that kind of caught my eye was Collector's Item, 14s. And I know he's been back to heavy prices, but 135 would get away with it. You get a nice racing weight. The Niels are beginning to come back to form after having that autumn virus. He had a couple of winners Saturday and a couple of horses that shaped quite well. And he stayed on quite nicely behind Jubilee Express, 2.5. Beating 2.5 lengths in that trial. That trial usually works out well for this race, Chepstow. So, he's got some track form. I thought at each way price, he'd be kind of a sporting one. There's been a bit of money for Nassalam, who's pulled up the last 4 times because it's the Moors who think that there might be a kind of a bit of a blow there off 145, and that's plausible because it is that type of race. So, yeah, you'd largely wait to the day, but at the prices, I was drawn a bit further down at the market. Collector's Item at 14s.
Okay. We don't have entries for the Juvenile Hurdle, the Wayward Lad, or the Desert Orchid, but they're obviously once we have entries in on the day, we'll have selections there. We'll go to Leopardstown 2 Grade 1s on the 27th. We've got the Paddy Rewards Club Chase. Very, very interesting. Marine Nationale, obviously the champion chase winner, is 2-1. Majbra in here at 9-4. Found the 50, who beat Majbra last time's 5-1. Dino Blues at 13-2. Lights are only by night. Before we get into this, Callum, what I do think will be in here will be a lot of pace.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it will suit Majbra.
Yeah, you'd expect maybe Enel Green to give it more of a whirl going forward. Solness is a trailblazer who won this last year.
Yes.
Would be a bit surprised as again. Last Christmas, I think Joseph O'Brien did really, really well. Practically cleaned up outside Willie Mullins, I think.
Mm-hmm.
The Jordans was second from nowhere. And the Faugheen, obviously, I think Home by the Lee ran really well. So I think he had a Banbridge, obviously, as well. So I think he had a really good Christmas. So when he specifically targets small windows like that, I'd be mindful. He's going to get his ground as well for once. Yeah, I'm in the Major camp. I mean, I think Marine National surely is just out here to need the run and peak for spring.
If you said to
I would
Barry
think.
Connell, you won't win this, you won't win the Dublin Chase, but you win the champion chase, I think he would bite your hand off.
Well, that's what happened last year, wasn't it? He
Yeah.
was third in this last year. He was second in the DRF, and he won at Cheltenham and he won at Punchestown. I just think he's just surely he's just going to be mapped out for a spring campaign again. Particularly he missed the Fortria. You're thinking, well, that's what they're going to do. He said
Yeah.
that kind of small setback. You're going to steadily bring him on again into spring. So imagine that's what they do, and surely just a return to Leopardstown conventional track as a run under his belt. A defeat that I think was, harshly critiqued in most quarters. I think it was forgivable. bumped into a race fit rival. It's got a lofty rating in a yard that were in flying form, and was giving them weight. They're off levels here. The track's far more suitable for them. Leopardstown, holding ground, and as you say, they might go quick enough that he might settle, jump nicely, and have a lead. Because
That's what I think.
I think that's what they're implying that might help him. The concern is obviously the jumping department, the way he can put down, can leave trailing legs in. Not a good sign, but he should be more comfortable left-handed, and there should be a more comfortable kind of race conditions for him, particularly with a run under his belt. So yeah, I expect him to win this.
Yeah, I mean, he was quite novice in the Irish Arkle and got
He
away
still is.
with
He's
it.
only a 5-year-old.
Yeah, and I do think the way the kind of race is going to set up, like Solness, I think will go a gallop. Hercule de Soy, if he's in here as well, I think they might just put him in here for that reason because he can go a clip as well. Dino Blue I'd imagine she'll go. She might take them. I just can see a world where Majborough just is allowed to, might make a couple of mistakes, but they're not as noticeable, and he's just able to bowl along and get a nice kind of toe into the race. The other one I think is very interesting, maybe with long term intentions, is Only by Night. I can see her running very well and needing 2.5, and you're thinking, right, we know the plan here. That's what I can see happening there. Marine
This is a
Nationale, I think,
stiff
is just a
race
very
for him.
hard horse to back at the moment, just because you kind of know what the plan is. And if he wins, obviously fair enough, but I don't think he's. I don't think they're running him with the intent to win. I'll be stunned if he's favourite if he goes off favourite for
Yeah,
this.
I think Marsh will probably go favourite for
Yeah,
this. I think there's certain types of horses that people just come back for. Competition Hill's one of them. I think Marswell is as well. I think he's a horse that will consistently have his supporters.
yeah,
Um, I think this is by far the toughest race that Only by Night has ever encountered.
yeah,
This is far harder than Nice. Dino Blue is interesting. I think that's the danger, really.
yeah.
But if she's going Mare's Chase, do you want to win this and carry a Grade 1 penalty around? Maybe not. She can overcome it anyway, but I think you're going to a stronger Mare's Chase and then you'll be giving weight around. But she should have won it in Navan, but made a few fiddly mistakes. But she normally reliably improves from her debut running the season quite markedly. Um, but she was outpaced in this last year, and kind of backed out of it the last, and you think that might happen again to her. So Maj was the one that you can expect to stamp his class and things.
So we're both in the Majborough camp. Let's go to the other Grade 1 on Leopardstown on the 27th. We've got the future champions, Novices Hurdle. Le Dauphin Enfant is 2-1 favourite. Sortudo's in here along with Love Me Tender at 6-1. Skylight Hustle is 6-1 as well. Again, maybe going elsewhere at Aintree. You've got Mr. Pessimistic for the De Bromhead camp at 9-1. Cocktail Brute, the Royal Bond winner at 10s. Similar to My Daddy Paddy, we haven't really mentioned this horse, Callum. Le Dauphin Enfant. What do you think of this? Like, is this just a case of he's 2-1 because of what he could be? Because I don't think you can back him in 2-1 based on substance.
No, it's just the same. All these can obviously now it's like the entry race. Well, now you're stepping into graded company, and
Yeah.
now we're going to get concrete form lines that are going to dive in with each other. I mean, very good initial impression at Thurles, but I don't think anyone had mapped him out as a kind of bona fide Grade 1 horse today, and I think he's kind of there at the top of the market in sufferance because Willie Mullins hasn't shown a lot that have had a run under their belt that won maidens.
Well, Sortudo, for example, Sortudo was originally when the entries came out was 9-4 for this. He's now 5-1, which makes me think they're actually doing what they probably should do is go to the Lawlers of Nace. That's what I
They
think.
might they might do. They might be thinking that because he does look more of a kind of staying tight down the line, doesn't he? But I think his form's probably better than the favourite at the
His
moment.
form's better than the favourite, yeah.
Love Be Tender is third in and has a nice profile. Probably get drying ground. I haven't really seen him since Tipperary missed the Royal Bond.
Was pulled out in the day, yeah.
Pulled out in the day, kind of ground. quite like him, to be honest. I think that's that and Skylight Hustle. I think are the two best that we've seen at the moment. I think
Yeah,
Skylight Hustle will look this ground. I think there's a good chance that he might go here. Cocktail Brute did it okay, but I don't think there's a lot of kind of fanfare about the Royal Bond form.
hmm
But it sets a decent enough standard. The fact that he's tens suggests he might not run. So it's a race I can't really get inspired about, to be honest. I think it's terrible.
I don't think it's great. I think
I'm hoping that the
Efford.
DRF will be completely different on this. I think you'll see better main hurdles.
Yeah, I think there'll be two or three Willie Mullins maiden hurdle winners like last year who will catch the eye more than this. Well, I think Mr. Pessimistic is probably one of the horses I've really liked, but I just think again, similar to Bromhead, I just don't think they're aimed at this. I think actually he's the way he won on debut over hurdles. I thought was very very good. Will he be on for this? I don't know. Sertudo, I was very surprised, and I hope they don't go here with Sertudo. I think he's a Laurels of Nace horse, and I think he'd probably take the beating in the Laurels of Nace. Love Me Tender, summer form. Does it translate at this time of year? I'm not sure. Skylight Hustle goes here,
Really,
I'll back him. But
I think it will in this context because none of them have shown anything
yeah,
out there. That Tipperary performance is comfortably the best to me in here. And I liked him more than the other one that they had that was quite forward that sidelined to spring. So so yeah, I was inclined by him at sixes. A green and gold Christmas is what I'm kind of hoping for at the moment, isn't
it looks
it?
like it. Yeah, yeah.
The
Well,
way things are going, but I think it's a pretty pure race. Henry de Bromhead, by the way, is 1 for 33 at the
yeah.
moment. So, but I mean, his horses can run well. It's rare that he finds winners, but they can run well, hit the frame, and be taken out going forward. But it looks like a very kind of watching see grade one.
Right, 28th of December is obviously your birthday. The only reason I remember that specifically is because was it Home by the Lee last year was the birthday banker. Do we have a birthday banker this year?
Hopefully, I know the way you're thinking will be the birthday banker
Okay, well
that year.
let's save him for a wee minute. Let's go to the Faugheen Novices Chase at Limerick. Final demand is 1-3. Oscar's brother, who's recently been purchased by JP McManus, is 5-1. Wally Mullins has got Jimmy DeSoy, Kitzbühel, and Predators Gold. Very interesting to see what he does here. The big Westerners here for Henry de Bromhead. Just excited to see Final Demand again, and hopefully he just smashes up and goes odds on because I've got my 6-1 pot and my wager in my back pocket, and I hope he does go shorter.
Yeah, he's expecting to. I mean, he looks pretty bomb proof. Jimmy DeSoy is a legitimate threat. Oscar's brother, very good horse.
Very solid, yeah.
And the fact that Kitzbühel and Jimmy DeSoy dominate the Kilo Star market suggests that this is a far better race. The Big Wester could turn up here, might go the mayor's race instead. Yeah, he should win. It's 1-3 float my boat. No, probably sit and watch and see if Danny Mullins and Patrick Mullins swear at each other at the finish line.
I think Final Demand will win this comfortably, and hopefully full team ahead to DRF. Let's go to the Christmas hurdle at Leopardstown. All reports suggest it looks to be a rematch between Ballyburn and Tia Hoopu. We've got Bob Ollinger, the Yellow Clay, last year's winner, Home by the Lee, and here as well. That's a very, very good race. I'm actually really looking forward to this. And I don't say that very often about a 2 mile 7 hurdle at Leopardstown at Christmas.
This is also a race that there's been a rare amount of market opinion on
Yes.
because there's a lot of kind of stagnant markets where we're not sure and a lot of people are just leaving it alone. But Ballyburn's drifting massively today. He was odds on, he's 45, now 1-8.
He's 45
See Hooper's
yesterday.
charging at 74, and the Yellow Clay's been clipped in like no one's business. And Bob Ollinger drifting, it probably needs it like he did last Christmas when Home by the Lee beat him by 6 lengths for a happier birthday than normal. Yeah, I mean, will T Hoopu run on this drying ground over 3 miles? He's been backed as if he is. in Ballyburn, again, I think people are watching that back and going, well, is he going to actually turn that form around? Because you do have these kind of keen going tendencies. He didn't see it out at Punchestown the 3 miles. Cheltenham never went a yard. Is he a natural 3 miler? Does he race like one? Is he too exuberant for his own good? Would he get home? Because if they race over 2.5 again, he'd definitely flip the form around. Over 3, I think you'd be less sure, and I think that's why the market's having doubts and they're tightening him up again to 11.8 to 74.
I don't think
Um,
it's. I don't think it's a match race. I think there's certainly like yellow clay. Yeah,
Yellow clay is hugely interesting because Gordon Elliott's runners that are improving from the first run to second is significant, and I do think he and Tiahupu could maybe hold the cards here a little bit, and I think that would really bad ground at Navan when he get beat by Colonel Mustard, and he was really wrong in at the weights, which I think can fool people in seeing how bad a run you think it is. Oh, that horse will beating that horse. Well, it's a lot harder if you're giving them a lot of weight and bad ground on your seasonal debut as well. I was giving it £6, and he was coming back off quite a nasty fault punch just at the end of the season, where you can maybe actually see the case of, right, we'll just kind of give you a bit more. Let's just get round here. Let's leave plenty to work on and have and restore your confidence. And people are backing him 8, 10 to 1 each way, and you can see why, because he does have a win chance. And the yard can do no wrong, and he can definitely. And you think that Bob Ollinger might be a little bit vulnerable here on seasonal debut, with Cheltenham being probably the ultimate target. So each way chance for sure. So it's interesting. I would definitely not be nailing anything down until the day, because I think when the market's moving that much already, it's just going to move even more so on the day, and you wouldn't be shocked if one of these didn't turn up for one reason or the other.
yeah. I'm very interested to see what happens with this, because I share your concerns in Ballyburn about 3 miles. Tiahupu ground, Bob Ollinger might need the run. Yellow clay is probably the one I'm kind of jumping out each way, but we'll see what happens. Right, let's go into the Savills chase at 2:30. Callum has said something very interesting that I know the way you're thinking might be his banker. Why are you against the Leopardstown machine that is Galloping Deschamps?
I think he'll need the run.
Okay.
I think he's going to be campaigned slightly differently. Mr. John Durkin, obviously, I don't think that's a bad thing, a small hold up. And I just think he'll be trained kind of slightly differently to try and get him peaking for the Gold Cup, because I think he kind of left that maybe behind with a couple of his big Leopardstown efforts back to back. And I know the way you're thinking came when we won crack at him and did him. And I think the expectations have flipped a little bit, because surely this is the time now for the Gold Cup winner to kind of do something out with Thornbury and actually kind of enhance his legacy, rather than, because if you look at his form out with that Gold Cup, you'd think that's a fluke.
Yeah.
He's not really showed a lot. The trainers promised improvement from Punchestown, where it's most inadequate of inadequate starting points for him. He boxed on from the back of the TV that day. And I just expect him to turn up here and expect the Gold Cup winner, the Gold Cup holder, to come out and have a performance with a race fit edge over his main rival again. And I just think Galloping Deschamps, a year older, with the way Willie Mullins horses are running, might well need it. And I think they're keen not to kind of leave the Gold Cup behind, because I think that's what happened last year. He was just a little bit flat on that occasion. And I know the way things come with one run and kind of did him. I think I can actually see him losing this, and that this is the only time he's beat the whole season, and he can regain his Gold Cup, because it'll give the kind of, I know the way you're thinking plan a lot more to think about by changing it.
I think I do really think it's an interesting thing, because if Galloping Deschamps wins this, like I think it'd be another superhuman performance, but I think there's more questions to answer based on will he need it. Willie Mullins' form getting into this is not what it usually is. He usually gets a wee buzz before Christmas. He's operating at 7%. It's not like him to be that short going into. There's usually a kind of dry spell before Christmas, but it's never at 7%, is it? I can't remember it being as low as that.
No, 3 for 44. No.
Yeah, like it's.
But it's a 2 week window where you'd want to go missing because nothing happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's, we've had this Christmas dip before. I don't think he had a particularly good Christmas last year. I think they're just a little bit behind. But yeah, it's a bit lower than normal, that's for sure. And a lot of these novices just aren't coming out at the moment either.
I mean, he could win. He could win 6 races in the first 2 days, and then you begin into this flying, and that is redundant. Galloping Deschamps a different beast though, because he usually has his prep run in the John Durkan where he doesn't win it, but you think, right, Christmas, he can't not lose it, Leopardstown. It's just, I know the way you're thinking. As you say, is he going to be prepped for this more than he has? Because his record at Leopardstown is not that good.
He's not been put in a race.
Yeah.
He's not been put in a race. That's the thing. Surely this time a Gold Cup winner, is going to get involved in something out with the Gold Cup. I just think they just blindsided them last year, but by campaigning them that way. And once you do that, you're out hiding. You've got to show something more. And to me, this is it. And I expect him to use that edge and be into. I actually think better ground suits him. It's drying out. I think that's a good sign for him over Galloping Deschamps, because I think sometimes his best form now can be in bottomless ground, but it's a real stamina test. But yeah, and there's also an outside chance that they might duck it and go to Tramore. But yeah, I mean, it's just a case of kind of preparation, really. And both camps have kind of indicated this. The Mullins card are kind of pretty cautious. He's likely to need it. They alluded to what happened last season, and the Cromwell Yard have been similar, where they expect. I know that we are thinking to come on massively from it, and come on massively from it suggests that he should be somewhere near his Gold Cup standard. And I think Galloping Deschamps might be slightly off that coming in, and he definitely needed his first run the last day. I know it's shorter, but it was his even on RPRs. It was worse than his Gold Cup effort, his reappearance run, and it happened as well 2 years ago. So, and he's a bit older. He's just more likely to even need it even more. So, to me, I think it's pretty hard for him to run within £10 of his peak. And I know the way you're thinking should improve to almost close to his Gold Cup standard, and that should be enough to win this. That's just the way I see it. I mean, I think Fast or Slow is actually quite dangerous, because I think he's equally going to leave it behind at Punchestown. I was actually mulling over last month will it have a flyer at him for the King George, because they're mooting it.
Yeah.
The trainer flip-flops all the time, so you couldn't pull the trigger. And thankfully, I didn't, because I think that a right-handed track plays to his strengths more than this left-handed track. So, likes of Champ Cowley's an entry. He stays. He showed at Punchestown. So I mean, you could have an extreme boil over in that regard. And Grange-Clare West has run one screamer here. DRF, he was second in the Irish Gold Cup. So I mean, it's 60-61. He's still got the same mark. So it's a race that, if it was a big upset, could happen in this one.
Okay. Right, we don't know entries for the Charlo Hurdle. Looks to be all dependent on will No Drama this end turns up. If he does turn up, you'd expect him to win. If he doesn't turn up, I don't know what is going to. I don't think there's a lot of 2.5 mile novices in Britain that I would fancy to win a Grade 1. If Paul Nicholls doesn't go and goes towards the trials day, which was mooted, I'd be very interested, because it would seem to me he's got Cheltenham in mind and kind of learnt his lesson of, I don't want to burn out my Cheltenham horses in the Challow, because that's kind of what's happened in the past. We'll go to the 29th, where we've got the December hurdle. Lossiemouth is 8-13 to win this. Brighter Days Ahead is mentioned at 7-2. I have to ask your thoughts on this. Surely nobody thinks that she is A1 if she's going for this. I know she won it last year, but it's been fences, and now we're going to go to the December hurdle and take on Lossiemouth.
She might be. She might be. I mean, I don't see. I mean, she put a monstrous performance in this. See, it doesn't like Cheltenham. Knocked her confidence, Punchestown over the hill. Probably not schooling as well as we thought over
Do you
fences.
think that's what it is? That she's not schooling well, or she's behind?
Presume so.
Because she's entered in a beginner's chase as well, round about this time. So
yeah, I think Gordon Elliott came out and said that they're going this way, aren't they? Yeah, I don't have a massive opinion on her. I think she's. I think the time to get her would be early in the season. She does have a good record fresh, and then in the spring she just disappears. You know, maybe that's just her. Maybe that's just what mares can sometimes do. You know, and she just doesn't replicate her form in the spring. To me, it wouldn't surprise you she won this and then did nothing for the rest of the season. It wouldn't surprise you if she blew out. You know, I mean, what I do know is that she's far too short.
Lossiemouth's winning this, isn't she?
Probably. If she gets round, yeah. If she took a chance at the last 8 punches down, I'd be a bit mindful of that. But again, it's just whether you're brave enough to go win it 8-13, 46.
Voodoo, I don't think is going to go with it. Again,
Voodoo's in the previous race, isn't she?
Yeah.
She's likely to take that in. There's a mare's...
The mare's hurdle, 2.5.
Some mare's hurdle there. She'd have a small £5 penalty, but that's cherry right for the taking. So, yeah, particularly with if Brighter Days Ahead's moving into the equation, you know, you don't want to smash up her and Wood Who. So, I mean, she could run well fresh and try and break them from the front again with Lossiemouth, but Lossiemouth's had that run under her belt.
Is there another pace angle? Is Castledale lad? Like I think what helped though was the pace angle.
Why would you do the pace angle when Brighter Days Ahead took it out massively last day? And there's definitely no worries about pace there. And
yeah.
She actually adds a bit more interest to the race, personally. And Amsterdam might stay here.
Do you need a King of Kingsfield though for Brighter Days Ahead to be seen to best effect? Because I don't think.
I did the champion hurdle and it didn't work. So I mean, I don't think it matters what you do, to be honest. I mean, it's all about kind of her and her well-being, and yeah, it's not Sergino vibes in that front. It's a bit more negative, but she's a horse that I don't really see why so many people have got a lot of opinion about it, to be honest. I mean, she hates Cheltenham. She's not going to do anything at Cheltenham anyway. So you might as well kind of press ahead early the season, because that's when she's winning races.
I think the way they've said, we're going fences, she's a chaser, she's definitely, that's definitely the plan. Like Gordon Elliott spoke highly about her, and then they get to Christmas, a couple of entries that she doesn't make, and then they're going, we'll try and just win the December hurdle again. Like, what's the long-term plan? Because as you say, she's not going to go for a champion hurdle. I'd be very surprised if she's mare's hurdle quality, just based on, I mean, Jade de Grugy kind of lamped her last time we saw her. Like, it's not, I just don't really see what the plan is.
I don't really understand why she's talked about in such high regard when her form with a couple of races is just pretty middling, you know. I mean, you can talk about Cargeese and similar kind of terms or something like that. I mean, it's just, I mean, it's just kind of, she'd make me this and she'd make me like this different chase, and like maybe like kind of like next Apple's Jade or something. I mean, she's just not.
Nah, I don't think she is. But right, we've kind of covered all the grade ones. There's a lot of horses that we're probably going to see, and just in terms of entries. I'm not asking you for like winners and things like that, but is there any horses you're quite fascinated that are entered at Christmas that you could see being quite high in Cheltenham markets come the New Year?
I'm interested in the juvenile race of Barbazon versus Mange 2 versus Narciso Has. I think that's an interesting race. There'll be a couple of handicap projects, no doubt, over it as well, and then you're into New Year territory. So I mean, there's definitely going to be a lot of kind of main eye catchers and stuff like that as well. So yeah, it's just it all happens at once. It's very informative, and with a lot of these kind of double entries and things like that, I mean, it's probably sensible not to kind of get too involved, because you can get kind of lost in all these meetings and fly it about and things like that. So yeah, it's definitely a marathon, not a sprint. But yeah, I mean, there'll be a lot of kind of notebook horses to take out of it, and there's a lot of races that I think you'd just be happy to sit and watch.
Yeah, I think there's a few. Like again, like Willie Mullins is just some of the kind of horses he's got entered. Like the Reverend was one that I think you were
Yes,
quite keen on.
start the season.
Doctor Dumanil is also in a maiden hurdle as well. You've got the likes of Leader Dalier, a few Willie horses, a few juveniles as well that might be interesting. I know there's one in the Gigginstown colours whose name just escapes me, who's entered at Limerick, who is quite high in a lot of people's mind for a Triumph hurdle. Let me just get me the name. I think it's Bertua, I think the name of it, but there's a few certainly to keep an eye on. You will see a few nice types. We'll maybe try and get a couple of best bets for the Christmas period before we wrap up, which are
Yeah,
two best bets.
I like Fact to Final King George, and I know the way you're thinking in the Savills Chase.
Okay, I think I'm going to go for Majbra in the
Yeah, I like him as well.
27th race. So Tudo if he goes to the Laurels of Nace. I know we didn't preview that, but we won't be back until after the Laurels of Nace. So Tudo if he goes Laurels of Nace would be my second one, but we are going to be there every day. We're going to have selections every day, obviously, in social media. I'll have my columns out as well. Callum, all that's left for me to do is wish you a very Merry Christmas, Happy Birthday, and a Happy New Year when it comes to you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it all happens at
It
once
all
in a
happens
week.
at
So
once,
yeah,
yeah.
it's fantastic, isn't it? Yeah, no, Merry Christmas to everyone and yourself, of course.
Thank you very much, everyone that's tuned in. Follow us over the Christmas period. We will have selections and we will see you all in the new year. Thank you very much.